The Grand Canyon is a major U.S. and global landmark. At large, it is known as the basement of history, since it is an embodiment of rock layers, each of which dates back to a specific epoch since the birth of the Earth. This research led to a thrilling discovery that could change what we know about the historic structure. What was this discovery, and how would it change the history of the Grand Canyon? Join us as we uncover what scientists just discovered at the Grand Canyon that worries the world. 9. The Grand Canyon lacks billions of years of rocks. Since modern science began, the Grand Canyon has lost almost 1 billion years of rocks. It always worries us. The Grand Canyon is a rock structure in the U.S. that shows Earth's history in layers. The Grand Canyon's geology excludes billion-year-old rock layers. How does it feel to discover that these rock strata don't exist? The term Great Unconformity has been used to characterize this phenomenon. In 1869, geologist John Wesley Powell sailed downstream on the Colorado River and noticed the anomaly. Finally, geologists could date these layers, confirming the huge unconformity there. 8. Prehistoric living forms were found. Grand Canyon National Park geologist Ellen Krill and her students ascended the Bright Angel Trail. Krill North, an unusual rock with markings footprint-shaped trail boulders. A cliff-falling boulder revealed these life forms. An inquisitive Norwegian Krill emailed images of these markings to his old friend and colleague Stephen Rowland, a paleontologist at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. The terrible items were fossilized. Rowland found the prince's fossil footprint to be 313 million years old, making it the Grand Canyon's oldest vertebrate footprint. The first vertebrates walked through sand dunes. 7. Sloths inhabit Grand Canyon caverns. Sloth feces and mummified bats fill the Grand Canyon caves. The majority of limestone-fest sites have caves, like the Grand Canyon, which has many fossils from the Ice Age. The Keys have been the perfect habitat for extinct animals like birds, mountain ghost sloths, and sloth rats. The bones of some of these animals were found, and the bone-dry conditions create a wonderfully preserved environment. The well-preserved fossils allow researchers access to 40,000 years of past history, and to know what the world was like during the Ice Age. Scientists began to examine these marks of history, and then began with a rampart cave located at the far western end of the canyon. 6. The Colorado River is drying up. The Grand Canyon's Colorado River, which rises in the Rocky Mountains and flows 1,500 miles south to the Gulf of California, is set to dry up. The Colorado River flows past waterfalls, deserts, and canyons before emptying into the Gulf of California in Mexico. Iverson's strike caused concern in the south and southwest because the Colorado River has been dangerously low for some time. Boaters can still navigate Lake Mead in Nevada and Arizona, but there are distinct lines in the rock walls at the lake's edge. Engineers still celebrate the Colorado River's damming and rerouting. 5. Grand Canyon uranium. The Grand Canyon's rocklands contain radioactive uranium, proving that radiation is present in the natural environment. Uranium is radioactive, but tests show that its radiation is relatively low, so tourists can safely visit the Grand Canyon area. Miners began to operate in the area as soon as the news about the radioactive material got out in the 1950s, and tons of uranium were all mined out of the area surrounding the Grand Canyon by the time the process was complete. Abandoned mines can be found in a few different areas of the Grand Canyon right now. This poses a potential health risk to the people who live in and around the Grand Canyon at the beginning of the 21st century. 4. Havasupai Tribe. The Havasupai Tribe, one of the smallest American Indian nations, has lived in the Grand Canyon for at least 1,000 years and is the only place in the U.S. where mail is still delivered by mules. They lived from Bill Williams Mountain to the Little Colorado River, up and down the Grand Canyon's vertical layers depending on their resources. This allowed them to take advantage of the canyon's diverse ecosystem in the fall and winter. They grow corn, beans, squash, pumpkins, and melons. And there is a soup bike community on the Colorado Plateau on the same level as the canyon rim. After 1,000 years of living in the area surrounding the Grand Canyon, the tribe did not encounter any European explorers until 1776, when a Spanish priest named Francisco Garces traveled to Havasu Canyon. 3. Tux Ruins. The Tux Ruins are 3 miles west of Desert Viewpoint, which marks them. The Tux Ruins, located at the Grand Canyon's easternmost entrance, are one of Arizona's most outstanding archaeological sites. They currently delight and educate tourists visiting the Grand Canyon. The museum and archaeological site are the only attractions. National Parks officials believe the ruins are the remains of an 800-year-old Pueblo village in a national park. The Tucson Museum is near the ruins of this ancient settlement, and experts believe that the structures were used for a variety of purposes, from construction buildings and housing to food storage and religious ceremonies. The museum has several exhibits to help visitors understand the archaeological site and the long-lost civilization it belonged to. The 1930 Tucson Ruins excavation was done by Arizona Pablones. 2. Megan Monster. The Megan Monster, sometimes known as Arizona's Bigfoot, is one of the Grand Canyon's mysteries. I.W. Stevens introduced the Megan Monster in 1903. Steve told the Arizona Republican newspaper about his encounter with a beast near the Grand Canyon. Stevens described the beast as the wild man of the cliffs with white hair and a long white beard that reached its knees. He also said that the creed was covered in rocks and that the bees had a long white beard that grew down to their knees and covered their entire face. Stevens also mentioned that the beast had a screech, which you probably have a mental image of. The Megan Monster is a 7-foot-tall creature with reddish or black hair covering its entire body except for its face. 1. Grand Canyon Cave Suite. In 1961, during the Cuban Missile Crisis, President John F. Kennedy established fallout shelters across the country to ensure that Americans had a place to go if bombs started falling from the sky. After a search, he found that the Grand Canyon was the perfect location for his business. Suites attracted Grand Canyon visitors. The food supplies lasted a few weeks instead of a month. Due to the cave's naturally dry climate, the above-ground Canyon Caverns Motel maintains and operates the 220-foot below-ground single-room accommodation. JFK's emergency supplies have been preserved to the point where they are still usable and fresh after being stored there for 40 years because there are no rodents, insects, or other animals that live in the cavern. What do you think of the video? Leave a comment below, like it, subscribe, and press notification icon before leaving.